Yeah, they go to Villa. It is what it is. There's only so much control we have over where we go each play day, and it is 0, by the way, if you're wondering. We don't even start these games. We're not allowed to anymore. Someone got that taken away from us. But Cthulhu, Bleed Esports on the attack, Varian X on the defense. And I mean, Varian X, look, I'll call a spade a spade. Last year during Ops League, they did cop a lot of punishment.
Yeah, look, not gonna lie, I'm quite curious to see how far will Varian X be able to make it, because yeah, given their last few performances in the localized leagues, things were looking very dire for them. The only success that they did have was, as highlighted by the analyst desk, was
what?
against
Hold
the
on.
lower. Yep. Blackbeard, yeah, it's all part for the course. It's all part for the course. Just let him cook. We're outing completely the whole of the Navy SEALs out of this one. But for Varian X, let's not forget the fact that, yes, whilst they only managed to win back in the last Operation League, only managed to win 2 games, they had a plethora of games where they managed to actually push to the 5th, even to OT. But then they proceeded to completely miss the opportunity to close out the game. So this is something that will basically, at least personally for me, will continue to moving on as a story for them going into the Southeast Asia League.
Yeah, I mean, look, that's always been the problem. At least when we were casting them last year, it was they could put up a showing, but when it came to closing maps out, there was a very evident issue. But look, I'm gonna be real. It's probably gonna be a tough, starter for this season. Your first test going up against the newly minted Bleed Esports with a pretty well-rounded roster of players. I mean, you look at Reaps, Hoven, and Mentalist alone, and they've had some insane history in the region. Reaps reasonably new, but his impact alone in last year's international environment speaks for itself. And look, Skucks, there are sordid corners of New Zealand where that word is still whispered. Cthulhu, look, you're in the process of getting your New Zealand citizenship at the moment. Do you know what the word Skucks means?
Well, to my knowledge, Skucks maybe something to deal with the W-Riz, as the people nowadays say. But do care to enlighten me.
Yeah, Skucks is a self-proclaimed term more often than not that you believe you're quite a ladies' man. More often than not, that's not the case. But we'll see. He may not be a ladies' man. Skucks might be the fragger, though, that Bleed Esports needs. He's rocking the Ash to start things off. But look at this aggressive lineup from Bleed Esports. I mean, Ash, Iana, Nook to start things off, then you got a bit of coverage. There is not a single hard breacher among them.
I don't think at this point, with all of the firepower that they are bringing in, they're going to need a hard breacher, really. It is, though, funny to see that, Mentalist has been diverted to what sort of feels like almost sort of half support role, really, being played as a Capitao. But seeing Reaps, seeing Hoven on the Iana and Nook respectively, does seem to be very much par for the course. Reaps was one of those big, impactful entry fraggers almost for the time when he was part of Direwolves. So I'm not surprised that he is reprising that role here as well, but on just a different roster. So all in all, he could absolutely do some damage, unless he just keeps on peeking with his shoulder and keeps on tanking even more damage. C4 out. He managed to dodge that one as well.
They're trying to scout out, knowing they're working off partial information to try and stop the pressure coming from Bleed Esports and through Classic. But nothing too significant taken away so far. Reaps has lost a bit of health, but the commitment of the toxic canisters early could be a bit rough. Mentalist kicking the game off with a kill on the Rams, and again, one of those operators that you don't really want to be losing that early into a match. Shut the Azami off the board, which means limited to no keep. Barricades silent. Oh, he's going to swing and find. Mentalist Killers chimes in with one more, but Skucks is in the building with Reaps alongside, and they team up for 2. They're going to gear up for this push, try and isolate the players off the site. And a 3 versus 2, Cthulhu, with a minute to play. Site is theirs. My God, Varian X. Are they going to go all the way up to the bedroom and come across from Astro?
Certainly looks like it.
Who's defending and who's attacking?
Yeah, look, at this point, I'm just about as confused as you are, Blue Panda. Given, Varian X decided to cook, and I think they just might have overcooked it all because, not really having any presence whatsoever around the site is not ideal, and Reaps will, in fact, be able to just farm up the frags and call it basically a day. But, look, this is something that I've personally expected for this matchup to happen. This is feeling very much like we are going to be seeing yet another speedrun attempt here.
Look, I think Dev may be fuming by the end of this. The man's relationship with his Google Sheets. The man is very diligent when it comes to the numbers side of things. Might be interrupted. He's sitting there and, you know, making sure that he's got all the info he needs between the games. And look, if that round is anything to go by, we could be starting off Southeast Asia with 2 7-0s here.
Be one hell of a way to set the bar here, really, for Southeast Asia, where South Asia was very much of increasing the difficulty as we went further into the day. This one seems like it's just the competition of who can wrap up their games as quick as possible, really. And so far, I mean, look, we did kick off with two what basically could be considered giants of the local region. Elevate and now Bleed Esports. They certainly have the prowess to just absolutely be a phenomenal roster to really watch develop even further, progress even further. Whereas you look at some of the recent introductions, Devil Dog, Champion, Varian X, even Wasted Potential to a certain degree too, they will have a very rough time. Because even with Fury still being around, even with Direwolves, they are no slouches either. And I wouldn't be surprised if they would have quite a rapid game too there.
I mean, with Reap's already, he's 3-0 off the first round, and he was willingly shouldering angles, looking for fights. And if they carry that on, I wouldn't be surprised if it was another rather quick run. Again, no need to mess around with hard breaches or anything of that sort. They're just going to be bringing firepower and lots of it. A little bit of flank watch in the form of the gridlock. Rare appearance, which look, you always rate it. The Australian operator making one of the few showings that she's had in the last couple of months, but Strike on the pulse is going to be hunting for that early launch. They want to try and halt the progress a little bit earlier than they did last round.
Pulse is already there. Should be having a pretty quick work, but instead he has been done very quickly there with that swing. Good form by Strike, unfortunately got pincered by too many people and really wasn't able to do much. Killers is in a whole lot of trouble as well, as he's now being pincered here too, and Reaps very much wants to find that frag for himself.
Oh, there's the ping. Should be reasonably free, but the Banshee there, Asvi just drawing some attention, and it's going to be Reaps. No, Asvi actually steals that one away with a headshot. Poor Reaps, he's not going to get his 5 to start the map off, but it is a systematic dismantling so far of Varian X in this defense. I mean, look, it's a fairly bare bones attacking operator lineup. They're not committing too heavily into significant utility. Clear, and they're just relying on their gunfights to be able to take this one away. Gemini deep into the site looking for information. Let's get assist. Asfi try and cut off that rotate as well and try and deny the threat through study. Reaps with another magnificent grenade. He's now got his 5. 55 seconds on the clock, and Varian X just losing number after number, unfortunately.
I mean, you look at the locations of the remaining defenders, they don't have a whole lot of impactful ground. Yes, Rams is all good and ready to rumble, but his position has been so very much exposed that it is borderline impossible to do really anything. With Mentalist being this sharp as well, I mean, what can you do, really? With such an outstanding performance for the whole team and, you know, the spirits running quite high, things are looking pretty solid.
I do have to say, Cthulhu, Bleed Esports has one of the nicer jerseys I think I've seen in recent times. I might have to look at picking up some of their merch at some point throughout this year. They're looking pretty swank and ready to game right now. I'm not sure about the support behind at the moment. Look, you got your little showcase there to cheering you on, the cheer squad. Varian X, unfortunately, don't have that same level of motivation at the moment. They have to pull themselves up by their own bootstraps. They're not going to be relying on their cheer squad in the back.
And I'm quite a bit disappointed that you missed the phenomenal opportunity about the praising Bleed's merch, is not to call it Scucks.
It is most certainly not.
Surely
Scucks, because even when they started using that term, it was kind of cringe. But right now, look, Scucks is that indeed. He's a member of the Bleed crew. He's got some decent gear on. That jersey is looking pretty slick. But right now, they've got a job to do. So there's no time for merch, no time for being Scucks. They've got more pressing matters to deal with, and that is winning this map. So far, they've started it well. We will see the transition, of course, into Split, not wanting to triple down on Aviator Games. There is that horizontal extension that you see a lot of teams running at the moment, but it seems to have fallen apart rather quickly.
Pretty swift, pretty quick was the conclusion for Zist's run, at least within this round. And yep, not really a whole lot of chances been really given to him either. He decided to sign his death warrant there as well, looking to get a little bit more aggressive on the window. But the difference being is, on one place, yes, on one place you're versing against teams like Astrape before. This time you're versing against Bleed, who basically know each and one of your steps already 2 steps ahead. They're just too strong at this point. And
speed running. Southeast Asian speed running siege. I'm here for it. They are looking to get it done nice and quick. Silent.
new esport.
And Killers. Yeah, look, I'd be down for that competition. Reaps finds one for the back. Reaps, who, by the way, Cthulhu is currently 7-0, splitting a 7 KD. We'll see if that lasts. Of course, and it will. It's 8 now. It's a flawless round. He is sharp on the flick. Someone, can we get a medic and check his wrist? Because that was, it was a bit abrupt.
Yeah, that would have had a bit of a crunch in there, I reckon. But look, the way how it is going, Bleed Esports are not really planning to stop anytime soon. This is a very dominating performance from them. Whereas on the side of Varian X, a little bit of a struggle street, not going to lie. So far, I mean, you look at each and every engagement that Bleed Esports were able to open up and create. It's been always about circling your opponents, singling them out, and then proceeding to eliminate one way or the other. So they always have that sort of plan B going for them. Say one of the attackers falls, you have another one straight away right there at their disposal to just go and frag out, no matter what. So it's great to see that this sort of coordination is being introduced here by Bleed Esports. This is something that I've been very much looking forward to seeing how will they be able to perform ever since the actual announcement of the roster. And so far, it's met all the expectations, really, I gotta say.
I mean, the life efficacy alone for Bleed Esports is rather impressive. Between Scucks and Reaps, 11 kills without a single death. So, I mean, look, you chuck that down with Mentalist as well. 13 kills with only a single death. It's just big numbers. Strike is taking some early damage. I don't know if that was from team damage or just been a bit too aggressive on a window. I think it may have been off a window. We'll have to see. But right now, yeah, look, Silent, he's done it. He's found the opener. Asphy the first to fall, no Dockerby. And that could be a pretty significant blow. And I think Hubris may have played a small part in that, because the Bleed Esports start the map with a 3-0 and think they can just walk all over Varian X. We've seen it in the past. That's not necessarily the case.
That could be very much the case, seeing as the spirits were running quite high, things were looking pretty solid, they were getting quite, confident in their plays. And what comes with confidence as well is overconfidence. So, yeah, you could be very much correct here, Panda. Bleed certainly falling into a bit of a rut there for themselves, unable to pick up coordinated frags, getting a little bit too excited maybe about the gunfights and thinking that they don't need the really backup. But the moment that sort of idea starts coming through, that's where the fall happens, really. So look, 3v5 with a half a round to go. It's not the worst, but far from being the best situation either, I have to say.
I mean, I think the case may be for Varian X in their minds. Look, we've taken a 2-player lead. We're in a great spot right now. I think if you're Reaps and Scucks, look, well, yeah, you're just going to say, well, they've evened the playing field. Scucks is going to fall for the first time here on Villa, but Reaps is not done just yet. Does he get double digits unanswered? He goes to the pre-fire in the study door, and he loses it out. He's going to fall too. Mentalist finds himself the last alive in a 1 versus 4 clutch situation as Flores. At least he has the diffuser. Unfortunately, with a minute to play, he's got limited utility to clear out what is waiting for him. There's the Goyo packs to come through, the Saria gates as well. So he is going to have to sacrifice a drone or two to try and clear that out and those stuns as well. But with 40 seconds on the clock, Cthulhu, Varian X, I think, yeah, Silent will close it out. He started it off. They get themselves their first round on the board, and I think maybe they'd have confidence biting back at Bleed a little.
It will be something that has been very well highlighted by Varian X here, is the moment they switch things around a little bit, let Bleed Esports get a little bit too cheeky about how they wanted to really play their cards, and yeah, that's where things started really crumbling, I gotta say. So for Varian X, look, they, like we said before, they're a roster that can still do damage. By all means, they very much can do damage. They're an able roster. They are a solid set of players. Unfortunately for them, it's mostly been just a story, at least back last year, a story about being unable to conclude the rounds in their favor. Openers and mid-game all great, but it's the finishers. It's the ability to have that discipline to be able to close out the rounds, to be able to not really throw around any more of the players' lives within the round. And well, that last round was basically the showcase of what it would look if Varian X don't throw, basically.
Yeah, look, I would have to hope that after a round like that, Bleed Esports are going to tighten things up just a little bit, not get too hyper-aggressive. Multiple players coming over towards Fountain. Rams is waiting there. I think they have an idea up on the cart, and Reaps is going to be dealt his second death blow. And Varian X are back into the swing of things. Some confidence off the last round is going to seal the deal for the top fragger for Bleed Esports. And that could be the shift in momentum that Varian X have been looking for.
Exactly that. Varian X looking to continue that unpredictability, which certainly seemed to be just suiting them quite right. Interesting to me, though, that Astra has been completely abandoned. Usually we would see some form of contention around that, but that is basically free real estate right now. Rams still has a C4, but no real information as to where the push might be coming from, so I suppose that will be kept until the later stages of the round. Strike could be the one to be in a whole lot of danger if he will get pressured here by the Ash of Scucks.
Strike just going to sit there holding that angle. Doesn't need to force the issue just yet. You lose your life here on a pulse, no less. That would give Bleed Esports a little bit more security in terms of approaching the bomb site as it is. But right now, they're primarily focused over to the statue. They're going to start to clear things across. Strike, scanner out, and Rams will hit the mark with his Nitro Cell. SV down once again. It's just the information game and explosive utility. You can feel the hesitation now from Bleed Esports. They were just streaking on the first 3 rounds, and all of a sudden that momentum has been halted in a pretty significant way. Start of the 5th round, they lose 2 players unanswered. They're in position. They can look to start executing. Unfortunately, Strike is still free to feed this info.
Yeah. Strike being very much left for on his own, basically allowed him to have free roam. Hoven, meanwhile, already managed to actually sneak over to the side. The beauty of Nook's gadget is the ability to do such sneaky plays as well, but he is completely unsure about where he might be shot from, and the perfect infiltration is already upon Varian X, but very quickly, very swiftly shut down, courtesy of Silent.
Well, with Mentalist falling, it's on to Scucks out the study balcony. Will be finished off from above. Scucks will strike, ironically, onto the man himself to take out that pulse from this equation. One Nitro Cell remaining in the hands of Silent utility there. Swinging, Scucks is just alive, hanging on by a sliver of HP. He's going to have to hit 3 headshots. Can't hit a single one. Killers will close the round. And Varian X close that gap to within 1 Cthulhu. This could be a tied half.
Well, it's definitely the turnout that I wasn't particularly expecting after the first 3 rounds. I was very much on the whole bandwagon of, you know, Bleed Esports should be able to close out a very quick game for themselves. But no, yeah, Varian X very quickly managed to turn things around, had an exceedingly well-coordinated game in terms of even just the trades. And in the present state, it definitely looks like we could be seeing a whole lot closer game than we expected. I mean, even something similar to maybe a 7-4 would be something that could come around, or better yet, for Varian X to maybe even cop a cheeky OT, if not a full win, if Bleed continue to just keep on crumbling like they just did before.
I mean, to be fair, we talked about the fact, the history for Varian X. They're a good team. They just struggle to close out maps, which means there is every likelihood that we see this go the distance in terms of regulation rounds, and it has been a while since we last cast them. So there's, again, every possibility that in their time, Varian X have been able to fix those mistakes and could be a team in contention for those last chance qualifier spots coming in the very near future. But last round of the half, Cthulhu Bleed on the precipice of a 4-2, but Rams is not done with his shenanigans. He's looking towards the stables currently, but no spawns over that way, it would seem. So unfortunately, he is going to miss his opportunity here.
They need to make sure that they have recovered their prowess, recovered their mental, because I would imagine a few of those initial spawn peaks would have introduced a bit of tilt here and there. Certainly something that could be, you know, the intermittent thing to really worth mentioning. Hoven, by the way, bringing up the Thatcher, the operator that had seen quite a fair bit of bans for himself, but this time not the case, so able to fully utilize the EMP charges. Skux does manage to pick up, actually, as a matter of fact, a double. He's already in the art room, but does get traded out at the end of it all, just after he managed to find himself a double kill. So this is looking good. Rams, though,
oh boy,
might be looking to pick up a frag himself.
Oh, nah, Hoven hits him with the Uno reverse card and says, not today. I'm going to win that, get the revive off, and put my team in a position where we can take this half, which is what they've been wanting. Silent Nova to control that long angle, threatening him into the kitchens. This is just playing on that A chassis at the moment, in the middle of the site. This is going to be a very, very rough round, one way or the other to close it out. Either Varian X clutch up with the ice, and Silent's going to start with a nitro cell. SV falls. Brings it down to the 2 versus 3 with Mentalist as low as he is. This is a very workable position for him, and Silent makes it a 2v2. All of a sudden, Varian X firing on all cylinders, finding some traction here on Villa Cthulhu, and Bleed Esports slipping out of the control position right now. They are no longer in the driver's seat. In fact, they've barely got their hands on the wheel. Big kill onto Silent, found from above. Hoven lurking up on that second floor, but the big advantage for Bleed Esports. There is still a minute to work with.
It is quite a lot of work to be done here. Panda, we're still yet to find a lot of that traction for Bleed Esports. They need to regain their momentum. Zist could still very much clutch it up here. With Mentalist being as low as he is, only 1 or 2 taps, and that will be it. That's one.
That
no,
doesn't help.
that's a team kill forced, as a matter of fact. Swing comes around. Hoven does wrap it all up. It's the prowess from the X Gaming Gladiators players that is able to really wrap it all up. But once again, this was a very difficult round for Bleed Esports to work with, and they only just were able to bring this back to a 4-2 scoreline.
Yeah, look. That's an unfortunate round. I think if you're Varian X, it was within your grasp, but the team kill as well. Unfortunately, Zest limited in his options. So I don't really know if there would have been a call that would have resulted in a round win there in that situation. You could, go right, go left, hit the deck, back up. Either way, you can't say you're going to find yourself in Hoven's line of sight, and he's already proved that in a pinch in those very tight situations with milliseconds of reaction time, he can still hit those headshots. The Varian X now pivot onto the attack. Cthulhu, we see the Monty currently being hovered, the Dockerby as well. On the side of the defense, we see the ever-present Capcan, it would seem, a favorite of the Asian region at the moment.
Yeah, look, the cat buff could be definitely there. I did unfortunately miss it for a brief moment, as I just needed to take a look at the couple of extra notes, but I mean, Bleed Esports so far, I gotta say, we went from 0 to hero and back to 0 very rapidly in terms of the first half. The way how their attack was just very much all over the place after the third round did not really instill a whole lot of promise, really, I'll be honest. And that's something that I reckon is going to be a big talking point throughout the majority of the league for Bleed Esports, is just their progress of being able to tighten up that attack, to be able to keep that consistency going for them. Because if it ends up going 3-0 and then all of a sudden, we're in the disadvantage of the points later down the line into the season, that's not gonna give the team a good look.
I mean, I'd argue a 4-2 attacking half is actually pretty solid. So, I mean, look, as much as we, say not quite what we expect from, given that they've taken the half as couple of years they have, and they're now transitioning to the defense, they're doing reasonably well. Unfortunately, it wasn't the blowout start I think that they were hoping for. You make do with a victory where you can. Hoven going to be scouted on the drone, playing bottom at Astro Stairs. Will back off. They need to get that info on the Monty, because if they can find a well-placed Nitro cell, he no longer becomes an issue.
I have to see how well the defense for the Bleed will really work out, seeing as this is a fairly flexible lineup, and well, they do still have quite a fair bit of utility to deal with the Monty. That is, I believe, that's actually 2 of the Goyo canisters that just have been popped, which means not a lot of that fallback utility in the later stages, as Bleed Esports certainly would want to keep at least some bits of that utility for themselves to keep it rolling. Zist might be able to pick up a frag here, and that could be actually quite a huge opener if he's able to find either Mentalist or the Azami, but it seems like it's Reaps to fall first.
I believe that may have been a Capcan trap that took Strike as low as he is, but Reaps getting found on the stairs. I mean, the guy was 9-1 at one point, and he's died 3 rounds in a row without any great effect, unfortunately. But at the moment, I mean, look, this is workable. You look at the players on the board, 4 versus 5, 4.1 technically if you look at Strike and his health bar, and the potential for him to fall with the smoke and a Goyo in play. Look, the reality is that he even got the 2 impacts in the hands of Skuk. So with this 25-second execute coming through, they need to make something happen. Hoven's holding fast on the top main stairs, looking to deny the push in through Study. Hoven, he's just trying to deny that push, that threat, gives Mentalist the opportunity to hunker down a little bit more. Toxic canister out. Zest swings wide, but it's a trade. He finds 2. Zest is going absolutely ham. He finds 3, but Skux closes it out with 3 of his own. And look, I think I'll give it to him. He is Skux Deluxe indeed.
In fact, he is. The way how he just played it all out, all looked basically all as part of the plan. Managed to get a few downs with the impact grenade as well as the down with the MP5K before, and just wrapped up the final kill. Just like that, it all works out at the end, and he just makes it look easy, really. Bleed Esports seeming to be now slowly but surely getting back into the overall swing of things, seeing though, unfortunately for Reaps, what was originally looking like a record-breaking KD stat was not the case, at least for the defense, anymore. But the rest of the team is actually doing a phenomenal job.
Yeah, look, I think the main thing is you look at the matchup. It's a 5-person game. Just because one player isn't showing up for the first 4 rounds of it doesn't mean that that's exactly that trajectory that you follow. Sometimes it's even a case of just get that player through the first half so that way they can transition into the opposite side of the map and they just start blowing up. And I think we've seen a great case of that from Skux. On the attack, was playing the likes of the line. He had limited opportunities. Yeah, he bounced around the Ash a bit as well. Yeah, he found some decent picks, but you look at the ability to ice up in that position on defense, and you know full well that he is exactly where he needs to be.
Absolutely so. The way how it was still orchestrated by Bleed, they managed to really force Varian X to start pushing no matter what. They were forced by the time, they were forced by the setup that Bleed introduced. It was pretty well orchestrated as it looked, at least back in round 7. Interesting to see that Strike was forced to really use one of his ace charges to get rid of the castle barricade, as maybe for Silence loadout, if he did bring the Gun 6, that is. Maybe that is being kept for the later stages of the round.
Well, Reaps, he gets himself a bit of vengeance. First kill in a few rounds, and it's on to Strike as well. That's your hard breaching Cthulhu, which is not the ideal situation, especially given that you're 2 minutes in, 4 of your drones are gone. And unfortunately, that means limited information. And you're now going to have to brute force your way through these angles. I mean, look, yeah, it is a very aggressive mirror setup into the master bedroom. If you look at the angles that are being held, realistically, you would have liked the Selma charge to clear that mirror window.
Oh yeah, ideally you would want the Selma charge to clear out the window. You would want it to continue being still part of the utility pool for the late pushes as well, to open up yet another sort of viewport. But unfortunately, that is not the opportunity. The case here exists, though might get an opportunity to get rid of Mentalist, although plenty of warning has been given. Mentalist still aiming upwards. Hoven instead is the one to assist the smoke player. So as it stands, not that bad of a hold at all. I mean, Bleed Esports yet to lose a player, and Varian X are quite struggling to find their footing in this round.
Yeah, look, they had a couple of moments there where it looked like we were going to get a decent contest on our hands, but unfortunately Bleed have transitioned to the defense and said we're just not going to risk that happening at the moment. We want to blow this one out of the water. We've got a statement to make with the new kids on the block. Hoven, double kill on the killers. Mentalist chimes in with one of his own as well, and it's Silent, the last alive on the line to try and, I mean, look, make anything happen at this point would be big. 27 seconds, so I think the reality of a plant is, I think, less than likely in this situation, and it will likely be Bleed moving on to map point. He unfortunately can't find a darn thing, especially when Skux is hitting shots like that. Indeed, Skux as G, as they would say over here in New Zealand. But a flawless round for Bleed Esports pushes them onto map point, and they are one away from joining Elevate at the top of the table.
Certainly so. I mean, the way how they've managed to recover their mental after quite a few rather unfortunate rounds, really, they are certainly looking still pretty happy about the results. Yes, not as, careless, happy faces, but more so sort of, yep, look, we had a few hiccups, but we're still happy about the result. This is all looking still pretty confident, pretty well executed. So, yeah. As far as the management is concerned, they're still doing their job pretty well.
No, look, I think Bleed, I think they'd be contented would be the best way. Well, we'd imagine they probably would have liked a 7-0 like Elevate were able to achieve, but I think they'd be happy with the win. Again, it gives them a bit of bod work to, progress forward on, gives them something to aim towards to work on going into next week. Well, I suppose they do have another match to play, which is going to be a pretty big one. Cthulhu, I'm excited to see how that one plays out later tonight, but hopefully the issues that we've seen today won't punish them too heavily going into that one. Bleed. One round, Cthulhu, one to do it. And Kitcher dining on the cards. Reaps this time picking up the mantle of the pulse. Let's see. I mean, Varian X, have they got the hot feet? Can they avoid disaster?
Certainly the question to ask here. Disaster could very much strike them rapidly here, and this is where they could absolutely fall apart, crumble under the pressure, and from there on, well, yeah, they start to their SEA League season is not going to be the most ideal one. We still yet to see an overtime game as well out of both South Asia and
What do you mean? We had one last night. You just weren't here.
Oh, I wasn't here, yeah.
The man finishes his shift and goes on. No, it was the last match of the day. We got an 8-7.
Right, okay, yep. An 8-7, that's correct. Yeah, true. My apologies on that one. But, look. This could have been another OT game if Varian X could have had a little bit more consistency, but unfortunately for them, they got figured out pretty quickly after the 2 rounds wins that they were able to procure. The rest felt like a bit of a quick one. Oh. Reaps just not really pulling back any punches at all. He's a menace once he was being given enough information.
Reaps, it would seem, finding his first kill here in what could be the last round of Villa. We hope, we pray. Unfortunately, the Siege Gods aren't that merciful, Cthulhu. We do what we can. You got to just keep the mental, keep the faith that we're going to get anything other than Oregon or Villa, because all work and no play makes me stir crazy. Right now, though, Varian X are working their way towards Master Bedroom. They want to get control of the vert. Little do they know that Hoven is lurking above. Wants to try and cut that off if possible. Ram's about to stick his head in towards Statuary, and this is going to be a very close engagement. If Rams misses an opportunity, all that control that could have been Varian X's will have been sacrificed, and unfortunately, I don't think there's much hope of reclaiming that round, and yeah, Hoven cleanly takes Ram. They're not going to be able to get the vert control. They're going to have to try and brute force it, with Hoven finding another one. Somehow, miracle angle coming through. Skux will fall, but you look at the damage done to Killers. He shouldn't be too hard to mop up going to the remainder of the round. 35 seconds on the cards on top of that. This should be a done deal, Cthulhu. They need to make the push. Varian X needs to try anything and everything they possibly can. Unfortunately, they've got 4 bleed players waiting to receive them. It's just going to be an absolute bloodbath. Mentalist will fall. Strike will get 1 at least. But I don't know how much more they're going to be able to find. Hoven playing the vert. Reap's playing it on the site. You got Strike looking to push through in towards Curtains right now. He's in sheets, and there you go. Bleed, lock it out. A 7-2 Cthulhu. A very well-earned victory, and they join Elevate at the top of the leaderboard.
Exactly that. Nice and swift 7-2, which did look like a bit of a scare in the middle part of the matchup, but overall it all wrapped up pretty quickly. Bleed not really risking any more falters, any more issues with the communications and with the momentum. They decided, you know what, that's it, we're gonna chill, we're gonna wrap it up and then enjoy our rest time before the next matchup. But look, I gotta say, this was still a very dominant performance from them. Despite the 7-2, despite the hiccup, and not as flash of a performance as what Elevate had, Bleed still managed to put up a great showcase. Whereas for Varian X, look, we got to see a glimpse of hope and what they could bring later down the line, but unfortunately for them, 2 rounds is all that they could take, really.
Well, yeah, like I think that's it. What you call a hiccup for Bleed Esports was, I think, Varian X stepping up and being that challenge, making the most of the opportunities that were presented to them. Bleed got a little bit overconfident and they were punished for it. So, I mean, look, Varian X, it still feels very much like the roster that we were seeing last year, but if they could take a couple of rounds off Bleed here and there is every opportunity they could find themselves a map later on down the line. But Bleed Esports, I think if you Bleed right now, you're feeling quite happy. You picked up your first win. Yeah, look, you got a big match around the corner. Now it's get a bit of a break in, get yourself reset, because, look, the challenges are starting.
Oh, yeah. The challenges are certainly starting up now, and, well, yeah, the Direwolves matchup, I'm certainly looking forward to that one. As the analyst desk previously highlighted, not only it's, just 2 great teams are battling, there's also some bit of a grudge match to really settle there too. So I'm definitely quite excited for that one. But the way how it is so far, Ben, the CA is presenting us with absolute heaters.
Oh, look, I love being here casting SEA. They're such an exciting, dynamic region. But once again, we'll throw it over to the experts to break down what we just witnessed. Over to the desk.